Welcome to Edulatte. This is our third dining experience. Today we are privileged to have the oh so divine Dr. Sandy Nicoll with us. She'll be discussing using pedagogy to engage the reluctant learner. Who can't go wrong with that? Sandy is works with the University of Newcastle supporting pre-service teachers, and we're incredibly privileged to have her with us here tonight, sharing a little bit more about herself and her passions and practice and pedagogical preferences or expertise in the field. Sandy, I'm going to hand over to you because I know that you would like to lead acknowledgements. I'm going to hand everything over to Sandy this evening, and I'm going to be a mute participant. So welcome aboard, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, Beck. I'm really looking forward to it. All right, I'm going to do 20 minutes wrap up. So with the PowerPoints for anyone to have if you would like it. So I'd just like to acknowledge the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as the traditional owners of Australia. Tonight, we acknowledge their continuing connection to land and water and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. So where I am tonight, I'm in Dakingyung country, and there's a fantastic artefact on the campus of the University of Newcastle, Callaghan campus. So I've just screenshot a small part of that. Beck popped this one up last night when we were talking, and I think it's awesome. So have a quick read of Peanuts. I love Peanuts. I think it's a classic.
And Sandy, I think the reason I popped that up, I know I said I wasn't going to interfere, was just this idea of that reluctant child. And I just see this little cartoon as kind of being that reluctant learner, you know. So, you know, that's why I thought it was a nice little segue into what you're about to talk about.
Yeah, so I've been introduced. So you can see my weekend face there compared to this is the week face where I've been marking assignments all week and all that stuff. But yeah, so I just want to talk to you about something that's really passionate to my heart. And it began when I was actually in Mount Druitt. I realised that what I learned at uni, and it's awful to say because I teach at uni, I had to actually disconnect from a lot of what I was taught at uni. And so I really streamlined my own ideas because it was not easy teaching in Mount Druitt. All right. So for me, yeah, they weren't engaged, and they weren't engaged from kindy. I had year one my first year. So this stuff has always resonated with me because I've always tried to go, okay, how can I be a better teacher? All right. And I still work on this at uni. I'm constantly asking the students to tell me, all right, give me feedback, tell me where you're missing, what you're missing. I'm excited to say that we've started a TikTok page today, which launched tonight, where we're doing little snippets of 30 seconds of teaching tips for everyone as well. So, but for me, pedagogy, I love this definition. It's just the art and science of teaching. And it's as simple as that. We don't need to go complicated. Everyone getting really complicated and so on. And I do work at the University of Newcastle, and there is a framework which I'll mention to you tonight that you might find interesting. But in essence, engagement's my passion. That's what my whole PhD was on. And the thing is, I think we need to understand that definition by the Department of Education is the last bit, active participation. Far too many teachers take on the role of engagement as their role. It's not. All right, your role is to deliver knowledge. Your role is to support, but actually engagement is the role of the student. Okay, our role might be to help them become engaged, but in essence, in the end, it's about them taking responsibility for their learning. And in my PhD, that was something that I found really fascinating, watching the pre-service teachers, because I met with them before they started prac. We met for 2 years, some of us, and as their journey went on, they realised, oh, wait a minute, it's not all on my back to have kids engaged, and it's not. The kids have a responsibility in that, and we need to think about that, I think, in terms of life. All right, so, okay, I teach at a uni, so I better tell you some research. So basically, Gaia talks about this idea that failure and success is connected to subject bias, and we do need to think about that as well, because we actually support subject bias if we have an area that we don't want to teach, we're not confident in teaching, so we send that hidden message to students. Clem, and I actually work with a guy called Stuart Woodcock. He's a professor in Queensland now, and he's very much like he's a mecca in terms of inclusion. And we know without doubt that if you have a positive attitude, you will be actually more effective as an inclusive oriented teacher. And actually, what we find is inclusive oriented teachers are into evidence-based practice as well. So, which I find fascinating. Most kids that we're looking at who need support are in what we call that specific learning disabilities area. Oh, there's one more quote, sorry. This is the sad bit. So we might learn and want to be involved in supporting inclusion, but a lot of people actually drop that ball by the end of their first year to conform with school. So I find that personally quite upsetting, but I think things will change actually. All right, so I want to do like a mini lesson. So we're not going to get a chance to do all of it, but I always like to do the real practical stuff when I'm teaching at uni and so on. But before we do that, because you'll need to understand these concepts so you can understand the lesson that we're running through, is we're focusing on what I call MART tonight, so mathematics with art, all right? And in particular, Cubism, and Picasso and Klee and Woodinski are well known for it. But what I want you to note from that area of art is the whole idea of geometric shapes, all right, and interlocking planes. So geometric shapes in many ways are the 2D spaces, and the interlocking planes, perfect for you, Sheldon. That's stage 3, years 5 and 6. All right, so this could be a lesson that you'll be teaching tomorrow, I hope. If you choose to teach it, please let me know. So, good old primary school. Everyone get your piece of paper out. You were asked to bring a piece of paper tonight and a pen. Just sit it in front of you and we'll do part of the lesson. We can't do all of it because this is quite a long lesson. But what I like to do is I like to start by reading a book. So I'm going to stop screen sharing because I actually like a bit of drama as I read. So it's one of my favourite picture books to do with art, and I've got more. So I don't always do this for older kids. I've got more detailed or age-appropriate books. So Sheldon, you might want to note that. But this is called The Dot by Peter Reynolds. So I'm just reading part of it. I want you to do some stuff as I read it to you. The art class was over, but Vashti sat glued to her chair. The paper was empty. Vashti's teacher leaned over the blank paper. Ah, a polar bear in a snowstorm, she said. Very funny, said Vashti. I just can't draw. The teacher smiled. Just make a mark. Everyone make a mark on your paper and see where it takes you. Vashti grabbed a felt tip pen and jabbed the paper. Good strong jab. There, she said. The teacher picked it up. Pick up your paper and studied it carefully. Show me your paper, everyone. Show me your jab. That's what I do in classes. Cool. Nice. She pushed the paper toward Vashti and said, now sign it on the bottom right-hand side. Now, if you're a teacher, you'll know what I've just told you to do. Sign your work. Vashti thought for a moment, well, maybe I can't draw, but I can sign my name. The next week, when Vashti walked into her art class, she was surprised to see what was there, hanging above the teacher's desk. It was the little dot she had drawn, her dot, all framed in gold. I can make a better dot than that. You see the kids saying that to you before? I have many times. And I actually use that. I use that negativity. I go, yeah, go on, show me, prove me wrong. I don't mind. She opened her never before used set of watercolours and set to work. Vashti painted and painted a red dot, a purple dot, a yellow dot, a blue dot. So here's the art coming into our lesson. The blue mixed with the yellow. See what? No, blue and yellow. the primary colours. So we're missing one, which is red. What does blue and yellow make? I think it makes green. Vashti discovered. Lots of little dots in many colours she made. If I can make little dots, I can make big dots too. Vashti splashed her colours with big, bright brushes and paper to make her dots. Vashti even made a dot, not painting a dot. So there's our negative and positive spaces as well. So those doing stage 3, that's an area that you might want to think about. Here's a picture to show you. Oh yeah. I'm going to show the kids the picture. So, but it's a bit hard to show it to you tonight. At the school art show, a few weeks later, Vashti's many dots made quite a splash. Vashti noticed a little boy gazing at her. You're really great for being an artist. I wish I could draw, he said. Me? No, I can't draw. Vashti said, I bet you can. Vashti smiled. She handed the boy a little piece of blank paper. She said, show me. The boy's pencil shook as he drew his line. Vashti stared at the boy's squiggle. What do you think she said? Sign it. One of my favourite ways of talking about getting the confidence going with drawing, because I'm sure you all know this. It's actually very hard to get kids to do much in terms of risk taking. So keep your piece of paper in front of you because we'll keep going with it. So I then use hooks all the way through my lessons. I find people tend to use hooks like that at the beginning as a starting point, but I actually go through and use hooks the whole way through. So let's keep it going. So, and I like to build a narrative in my stories, in my lessons. And in terms of prior knowledge, I would have talked to the students about cubism and different types of artists. And this artist actually is quoted in my PhD because I actually love that he's a rebel. And I think a lot of kids like that notion of being a rebel. And we can see that. So I'm just going to talk to you. Normally I have a huge dialogue with kids about it, but Picasso said one of the most amazing quotes I've ever heard in my entire life, or read in my entire life, which is my PhD, on page 75. Learn the rules like a professional so you can break them like an artist. So he created art that was inspired in portraits like this. And if you have a look, this gives kids a chance to go, you know what, I can do art and I don't have to be exact. I mean, yeah, you can teach how to do portraits. It's quite easy. But personally, I quite like moving forward. Now, remember that dot you put on your piece of paper? Well, Wassily Kandinsky, he came from Russia and he said something quite amazing. He said, and listen to it, it's very clever, everything starts from a dot. Have a look at your work. Did you start from a dot? It's pretty cool, isn't it? So Picasso told us, would anyone like to say what Picasso told us?
Learn.
Remember, I'll take.
Yep, learn.
The rules like a professional.
So you can break them like an artist.
So you can break them.
Yeah, now the breaking the part's my favourite part personally. If you know me well, you'll know that I like breaking pretty much every rule that you can break out. So you can unpack all of this in terms of circles. Now we're starting to move into explicit teaching because we're looking at actually attributes. All right, so now the next part before I even do it is, because I love this, so I always say to kids that I would imagine that they were like in a bar together having, talking about all their art and their favourite things, because the next person is Paul Klee or Clay, and he said, now let's look at your dot. He said a line is a dot which went for a walk. You think about your dot. All right, so it's very, very clever. And if you look at red balloon, for example, you can unpack so many 2D spaces. We're not going to do this tonight because I promised it was going to be 20 minutes. But I literally say to kids, right, we're going to be professionals. We've got to work out the attributes of these shapes. And so depending on what stage, if you have a look across the stages, I'm not sure what where people are from, but in New South Wales, which is where I teach, we start in early stage 1. circles, triangles, and we carry, for example, Sheldon, this might be good to know, triangles, we carry them into stage 3 where we're looking at scalene, isosceles, equilateral. So this lends itself, this type of attribution design lends itself to all stages. You just modify what you want to do. And the big thing that you must do is get them to draw the shape. All right, it's one thing to say, do this, think that, blah, blah, but to physically get them to do it, to me, is such an important skill to have. So now, everyone, I want you with your piece of paper. So I'm going to actually show the TikTok video as well, because we did a TikTok video on it today. If you, so this is the next hook what I do. If you actually model on this on a whiteboard, the students go, oh my God, teachers go, oh my God, it's not that hard. But if you hold your arm out straight, like you are a compass, you actually naturally do the shapes. So what I'm going to ask you all to do is get your piece of paper. You haven't, I mean, you can't, normally I get kids to stand up. But I want you to go and actually do a circle with your arm out straight, and you'll actually find it pretty much makes a perfect circle. If you do it with a triangle, it does it as well. And if you do it with a square, it does it as well. So our little stars, now tell me if the TikTok doesn't work, because I always get this part wrong with Zoom. But just tell me if you can't see the video. If not, I'll have to reshare it. All right. Can you hear that? Oh, actually, wait a minute. I need to change. I need to put the sound up. I apologize, guys. I always forget about this sound part. All right. So hopefully it's working. Okay. So
now, the way to do it, arm needs to be straight. You start at one point and you keep your arm straight through the whole draw. Start at one point. This is a circle.
You put your arm straight,
Next,
you can't go wrong.
Begin with a square. Arm straight, square. Alrighty.
And finishing it off with a triangle, making sure that arm's locked.
2D spaces are excellent hooks. All right, now I'm not joking. I don't care where I'm teaching, who I'm teaching. People go, oh, it's not rocket science. I'm not gifted. I'm not really good at art, to be honest. My whole family are. I'm not, all right? But that's something that, the main thing is you've got to keep your arm completely straight like a compass. Tell kids like a compass, pull up a compass, pull out a compass if you want to. And you've got to keep your hips straight to your whiteboard, otherwise it doesn't work. Right, so let's keep going. Right.
One.
Oh, sorry.
Pretend you're a compass.
I'll try again. I put up my TikTok instead. All right, now this is where it really becomes interesting. So on one side of my maths books, what I do is I do the instruction or the explicit side, and I always on the other side do some sort of inquiry, some sort of play, always. And I know I look different. My classrooms look different to other teachers, and people go, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you doing so much art? Well, come and prove me wrong. Because I was asked in my 2 schools I taught out to actually be the person that tracked the maths, and there was no question about it. My kids in my classes did better. I know it's just 2 schools, and one day I would like to study it more, but there was no question. They developed what we call deep knowledge and deep understanding. So this is a child that I want to talk to you about in particular. This boy did not want to be at school. I was told when I arrived, he was a year 4, going on to year 5. He didn't want to be at school. He's probably undiagnosed oppositional defiance disorder, and he was not easy. All right, so I had been working with him all morning. I could see he was not interested, but I got him engaged here because he liked that challenge of information. All right, so the idea of labeling and so on. And then this is what I do. I set a fun part on the right hand side. I say to people, all right, so everyone's done their circle. I want you to do another circle. Have another practice at it on your paper. So you should have 2 circles on your paper. And I do that. So if you understand memory, that's actually when you're revisiting information, you're actually helping the tracking of deep knowledge and deep memory. Then I say, right, everyone, we're going to do this for a time. Like Picasso, draw 3 circles, like Cleve, 4 squares, and so on. And then I say, and this is the part I love, we as artists, we're artists now. We've gone past being professional, so we can break a rule. All right, and I unpack and I go back and talk about the art and so on. And I love it because they always think, oh, I can't, I'm going to get it. I'm going to be naughty. And some of them say, well, I'm going to break all the rules. And I go, well, yeah, actually you can. All right. So I always choose my battles. I'm going to fight, and I don't fight many battles with kids because I refuse to play what we call tennis. What I mean by that is if you're going to have an argument with kids back and forth, you're playing tennis. So I just don't play. I dropped my tennis racket. So this boy, I knew he'd been suspended. I knew he didn't want to be at school. So he said to me, I'm going to do my own thing. I went, yep, go for it. And this is what he did. And this is what still blows my mind. So remember, left side, the explicit, the right side. So he did a B. And then on the other side, he turned it over and it was a spider. Now that is clever. All right. And I still remember him saying to me, like in a real smarmy voice, like, because I don't buy into any of that. I'm gonna get you, because that's what kids do. That's what they say to us. I've taught forever. And I just said, go for it. And he went for it. And you know what was interesting? I left him with this SLSO and he actually wanted, and he wouldn't stop. And I did not see him stop working for a whole hour on it. Is that engagement? Yeah. Is that deep understanding? Oh yeah. Because he actually, if you have a look, he actually put all the shapes in it. All right. So I left him a little note. I always leave kids a little note just to say thank you because he hadn't been engaged all year. Hemma, did you want to ask a question, sweetie? Did your hand up? Or is this, okay. All right. So I want to cut it short because I want time for questions, but in essence, the rest of the PowerPoint unpacks what I use, which is the quality teaching framework. All right. So putting things in context for me, no, I don't have low expectations. I have high expectations of everyone. All right. It's just how you do it, how you manage it. And I always put relationships first. My medium, my right nice big mix of my Edulatte is I actually do rely on things that inform my practice. In particular, I like the quality teaching framework from Newcastle and the UDL design. In terms of being large, I don't play tennis. I don't go over the top. All right. I don't get into who has to win this battle. I just don't buy into it. All right. And I put relationships first. So I actually, that day, I'd walked around and had a look to see what the kids were reading and so on. So I'm not going to go into the framework because I thought I don't want to waste the time on that. You can go and read it later. I've been a bit sneaky. I've actually put in screenshots from it because you can actually sign up with the University of Newcastle for it. So before I finish, what would I tackle next? What would you tackle next? Now, I'm not sure if you noticed, this is what I do. I plant seeds. So my next lesson would actually move into fractals. And if you go back to the PowerPoint, you'll see that I actually had things like fractals all the way through it as well, because it's all about memory. It's all about that idea of going back, forth, and in cubism, the logic for me is it's a 3D shape. So that actually, I promised 20 minutes. So that's time for questions or any comments or any thoughts that anyone would like to give.
Thank you, Dr. Sandy. Is there anyone out there that has a question for Sandy at this early point in time? I'll let you guys go for it. If you would prefer to put it in the chat, please feel free, and I can relay that to Sandy.
And I can give you more information because there's another like 5 or 6 slides to talk about the framework, but we did promise it would be a light night, not too much information. Also, well, actually, there's a lot of information, but not too long because everyone's tired.
And I haven't eaten them yet.
You right, Feet?
Oh, I didn't realise I was on. Sorry.
Yeah, you are. Oh,
Just talking to my husband about my dinner. Sorry. I'll turn myself off.
Right. Oh, what's for dinner?
Hash browns,
right.
delicious.
Oh, okay. I haven't had my dinner yet. All right. Well, I'll just finish off then. I'll continue with it because I think it's really nice. Remember, the whole idea for me is I'm not into the whiz bang of like always doing, push beautiful. Those hooks are really easy. All right. They're not, I don't want anyone to get into this idea that you've got to make everything glitter and glamour. No, because it's too exhausting. Okay. Hooks can be easily done. They can be really simple. And if you have a look here, like the artwork is there and you can unpack, trapeziums, you can unpack semicircles and so on. There's a myriad of things that you can do. So I'm just getting my mouse to work. So in the end, the other thing which I haven't emphasized is I do not, on the right-hand side, push for kids to follow my way. I think one of the biggest mistakes we've been making in education for a long time is I'm the gatekeeper. I am the person that knows everything. Well, that's rubbish, all right? My PH taught me one really important lesson. I know jack shit. All right, so, and I'm supposed to be an expert in engagement. Yeah, I know a fair bit, but I don't know everything. All right, so, and I've been doing this myself at uni, and I do this when I teach at schools. If I try and say it like I try and be like where you open up, where we don't tunnel down the knowledge, we don't tunnel down everything, because in my experience, the more choice I give kids, and it's in research as well. And I know Steffi talked about it a lot in her first, the first Edulatte. They outshine us. Can you handle being outshined by a teacher? I can. I think I've done my job if I've actually made myself redundant. All right. So this is a little girl who was in that class as well. Very naughty. But if you actually have a look, she started unpacking stuff with drawing because I let her go for it. And okay, she didn't follow my rules with but technically she did, because it says in it you can break a rule. We can break a rule by choosing not to do what I've said to do. Look at that. She's 9. All right, let's keep going. I've got heaps more I could show you, but I thought I'd just show a sampler tonight. So another kid in that same class, if you go, I love it. If you have a look, so on the left-hand side, there's the information. On the right-hand side, if you have a look, it's actually really clever. All right, and of course it has to have, fighting utensils, because that's just the standard. But look at the bird on the arm. Like, the more I look at it, the more I go, that is so clever. All because I didn't say no. Okay, and then the pre-service teachers last week, I had to show one photo of them. So, and that was my Arimba crew. We were doing it. So, but I've got more photos to show everyone. But yeah. So, if you want to read more about engagement, I do talk about it on my website. Otherwise, come on to TikTok to get some more hooks, because we've been focusing on hooks today. And that's pretty much a wrap, Beck.
Thank you everybody for joining us tonight. We will wrap it up, and we're hoping that Sandy might join us on Clubhouse next week for a bit of a conversation. So if you go away and play with these things and come and have a chat with us on Clubhouse, we'll put some details out there, and that'll be our first Clubhouse event. So that'll be really exciting.